Brian Von VA here, welcoming every single one of you, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, anyone and everyone in between, to enjoy some new D&D stories. Today we've got what are some of your favorite D&D stories, and if you have a story you'd like to tell us that was your absolute favorite moment in D&D ever, do so down in the comments below. We had just arrived in Port Nyanzaru in a stolen pirate ship that was teeming with gold from our recent excursion into the jungles of Chult. Our DM explains that Port Nyanzaru is a massive hub for trade across the globe. If it was an official magic item, we could find and buy it. He would soon come to regret this choice as the warlock proposed we all buy a broom of flying. Jungle survival campaign quickly descended into clown shoes hijinks. DM begrudgingly allows our purchase. Eventually, we arrive in the forbidden city of Omu, where we acquired a golem and the command word to control him. We're looking for an entrance to the titular tomb and encounter a massive dinosaur covered in colorful feathers that was partially decomposing and swarming with flies. Our entire party rolls for initiative, and the dinosaur ends up at the bottom of the initiative order. Cue Ride of the Valkyries, dun 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 dun! We all do a series of skill checks as our ropes are tied to the golem. 6 brooms of flying all begin to ascend with our stone payload swinging in the wind. In order to get this right, we all have to pass a flat dexterity or strength roll to cut our ropes at the same time and hit our target. One by one, we all roll on the board. Comes down to me, the bard. Terrible rolls this entire game. Brrrr, hata! Does a 15 succeed? A hush falls over the table. Meets it, beats it. Just like the bard wants to hear, baby. The table roars as our golem is released and reaches terminal velocity, hitting him for a whopping 20d6 and smash! Golem survives the fall, but is knocked unconscious and goes into death saves. Dinosaur's skull is thoroughly caved in, but is still alive. Druid hops off his broom after casting Wild Shape and turns into a Triceratops and hits the dino for another 20d6. With his Wild Shape negating the harm, Paladin jumps off for funsies and we all panic. He did about half as much damage with his fall and went down. The King of Feathers was now nothing more than a bloody pulp of feathers. The entire table was roaring with tears and laughter. Even our DM was a good sport about it. We all thanked him for letting us get away with our plan. Probably my favorite moment from that campaign. For my very first ever D&D campaign, I played a Wood Elf Ranger. The campaign only went for about 5 sessions, and though I didn't quite understand everything, I loved it. Fast forward 3 years, I've done a few one-shots but haven't played anything serious. Then I got another chance to play in a campaign, and I decide I'll play the same Wood Elf Ranger. This campaign lasted for much longer, about a year, where we'd get together every week. I love this character. Rangers aren't known for being very strong, but none of my party were very experienced and we played for the fun of it, not for good builds. And so, I was strong, but also cowardly. And maybe it wasn't cowardice exactly, but it was self-preservation. Ha ha! Now as the campaign goes on, the character grows more depth. The rest of the party hates the character and seems to always be on the verge of killing me. They don't, though, because I became friends with a powerful NPC wizard who could only speak gibberish. But I understood him perfectly. Then at one point, the big bad evil guy kills my wizard friend, and I'm left alone. My character slowly goes mad. He makes an enemy with an extremely powerful farmer and burns said farmer's house down. Another party member killed me after that, but I was given a second chance. Sort of. I was reawakened by the big bad evil guy, but I had to sell my soul into their service. Then came along the final fight later in the campaign. Nobody had suspected how I survived, and so I made my grand reveal. In the end, the big bad evil guy and I were pulverized, but I had a lot of fun. I loved the character and his slow descent into madness. My DM ran another campaign, and with the DM's approval, we added some lore that brought my character back to life, and I got to play another campaign with this character. This time, though, there was drama amongst the party in real life. It didn't stop me, though. I played like normal. It was revealed that my character actually had a sister who was alive, presumed dead before, however. Sister was played by a fellow party member. Unfortunately, though, later the drama amongst the party in real life had the sister turn on my character, which I never wanted. Towards the end of the campaign, the player who played said sister wasn't able to join, and my character decided in the final battle to put an arrow through his sister's chest. I thought it was kind of poetic. In the first serious campaign with this character, I was alone. In the second, I had finally found my family, but in the end, I couldn't even trust her. So I had to work alone again. I thought killing her tied up the loose ends and also fit well with the theme of madness I put with my character. Now, after the campaigns are over, I survived the final fight this time. I got my happy-ish ending. My wizard friend from the first campaign wasn't actually dead. The specifics would be too long to get into. And together, the two of us set up a new nation, fixing the shattered remnants of what there was. I've wanted to share this story forever. It might not be very good, but I grew very attached to the character. Hey, if you're attached to a character, and tell us who, what, when, where, how, and why in the comments below. We all want to know. It was at the end of an arc, and my players were having a climactic battle. My wild magic sorcerer cast a beautifully timed fireball, dealing massive damage. There was much to celebrate. The stars aligned on the following D20, and it was my pleasure to roll on the wild magic chart. As I prepped my percentage dice, my players began joking about how funny it would be if he turned into a potted plant. The first die dropped. My eyes widened. It was a 4. My eyes shifted around to my players as they continued to joke about how ridiculous it would be if he turned into a potted plant in this moment. Well, the second die dropped, and I feel like it is moments like this that your DM lives for. Just an incredibly lucky roll. No fudge dice needed. The odds very low. The following number was a 2. The table burst out laughing as I said, "Well, you're not gonna believe this," and proceeded to narrate what felt to be a very classic D&D story that had not happened yet in the 3 years we have been in this campaign. My players asked if he could be a bonsai tree as a homage to one of our NPCs in the past. I told him to give me a nature check to see if he could will himself into a bonsai tree upon his change. He rolled a nat 1. For a round of combat, he was a little stick with a single leaf on it. Okay, first off, context. We love context. We're in a campaign where we had to help clear a plague and turn the land back to the way it was. To do that, we had to find a creature that was the symbol of the old kingdom and use it as a symbol to start a revolution. After we climbed a mountain to reach it, we had to fight a wizard. One of the first things we tried to do was teleport him off a cliff. Yes, we tried to teleport him off the cliff. That's what happened, officer. We didn't push him at all. Our cleric had cast Death Ward on himself earlier, so he was going to cast Thunderstep and teleport both himself and the wizard off of a 500-foot cliff. Of course, the wizard cast Fly, and our cleric fell the whole 500 feet and broke basically every bone in his body. But he was still on 1 HP because of Death Ward. As the wizard flew back up, I remembered I had a magic sword that could cast Wall of Force. So, I cast it in a hemisphere around the wizard. For the next 10 in-game minutes, we threw every rock we could find on top of the Wall of Force. A total of 200 pounds, I think. And then when the Wall of Force ran out, the wizard and all the rocks fell to the ground. Oh, he didn't die. He had plot armor, but we brought him down to basically nothing. That'll teach him to come back and start some shit with you guys. This happened a few years back, but it's a fun story that pops up every now and then. My players were going deep into a dungeon, racing an NPC adventurer party that one of the players ran within their backstory. The race was set to get to the bottom and find the source of the eldritch corruption that was spreading throughout the land. Both teams ended up getting stuck at a puzzle. The other party had been trying to solve it for some time when the players arrived. It was a statue with burning eyes that looked down on a room with 4 braziers. An inspection on the statue said, "Show me only penance, and you shall pass." The braziers burned with oil and looked like they used a lot of it, and drained the spent oil in a grate that slowly trickled with the dark pitch. Here's the answer. Take some of the dark pitch that had been used and smear it on the plaque until only the word that is showing is penance. Looking at it from a top-down perspective as a DM, I thought it was a pretty simple puzzle. The players had a different idea of how to go about it, though. The first one tried to self-flagellate before the statue using a whip they had. I had them roll damage and stated that nothing happened. Then, 4 players decided to stick their arms into the braziers to burn themselves. I rolled a d6 and told them they took damage, but nothing happened. They then believed the only way to get through would be if one of them burnt themselves to death. Well, obviously none of them chose to do this, but they were set that it was the answer. So the druid chose to summon a woodland creature, a giant eagle. The group got together and started using the pitch that had been meant to solve the puzzle and started using it to cover the eagle with. I went into detail about how the eagle did not like this idea to the druid through body language, but he said it would go back to being a face spirit, so it was only temporary. Oh god, I hate where this is going. As they were covering the eagle, I also emphasized how it looked like the pitch seemed to grow especially dark and acted more like a solid than a liquid when it was applied to something. Once they were done covering it in pitch, they lit the eagle on fire and commanded it to fly into the statue as hard as it could. God, that's horrible. The eagle did as it was told and flew into the statue as fast and as hard as it possibly could and slammed headfirst into the statue and knocked itself out. Well, it quickly woke up from unconsciousness to start screaming about being on fire, and then burnt to death and evaporated. That's a terrible, terrible way to go. I then told the players that nothing happened, but gave them inspiration for the creative, if horrifying, idea. Well, the players were stumped until they decided to reread the plaque. One player spoke up saying they would try to cover the plaque so only the word penance would be visible, but they didn't have anything in their inventory that would work. They went back to discussing, asking the NPC party what they had tried and comparing notes. And one of the players started using the pitch to write on the walls what they had tried so far. I described how the pitch seemed to immediately turn into a solid when applied to the wall. The player stopped, then went and scooped a big handful and started trying to cover the statue's eyes. I described how it would make contact with the fire in the eyes and become a liquid and drip out of its eyes. But as it went down the statue's solid body, it became solid again. Then one of them applied it to the plaque, and as they put it on the first word, it covered the letters completely. They covered the whole plaque except for the word penance, and the eyes of the statue flared. It stood and stepped to the side, allowing them to go through the entrance behind it. The players had a ton of laughs as they tried to solve the puzzle. I decided to start putting puzzles a little further apart from then on because they did seem to always take them a while. Hey, you live and you learn, and plus, only the penitent one may pass. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, tell your friends, and, of course, leave some stories down below talking about your favorite D&D moments, your favorite D&D stories, your favorite D&D anything. We want to know. We love to interact with all of you. And I promise you, even though I don't reply to everybody, I, Brian Vaughn, your humble little narrator here at MrRipper, I always read everything. And I want to make sure everybody out there is doing okay. So please, just check in with me and let me know everybody's all right. It's been a hard year for a lot of us, especially me. But I want to tell you all I love you. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.